Man, trying to pick between an Aprilia 200 and an RSV4 is really tough. They're both such amazing motorcycles. How am I supposed to choose? Well, what sort of person would I be if I got a Tuono? Oh boy, this Aprilia Tuono would be such a treat on a long 200-mile ride. I can even tell the wife that I can put bags on it and tow her with it. Maybe she won't notice all the horsepower and electronic suspension, but hey, I worked hard. I deserve a nice bike. Well, maybe that's too much dad energy, but what if I owned an RSV4? Hell yeah, dude, you going to GP this weekend? I just got a new race ECU on my bike and it just absolutely freaking rails now, bro. I was flying down those corners the other day and I swear I just booked my 3rd track day for the year. You trying to ride this weekend, bro? That doesn't feel quite right either. Maybe I can just test ride both of them and see how I feel.
All right, folks, for anybody out there, both of these would be an absolute dream bike, right? You've got a 200 horsepower Italian superbike over here and a 175 horsepower Italian superbike over here. They're both superbikes, basically. Today's gonna be a fun one. We're trying to figure out the differences between the RSV4 and the Tuono. We like to tell you guys that this is basically an RSV4 with handlebars, but today we actually have an RSV4 to figure out if it actually just is an RSV4 with handlebars. What do you think, Spite?
I mean, just looking at them side by side, I'm clocking the same frame, I'm looking at the same geometry, aside from, you know, the handlebar.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a good one, and, you know, everybody gets mad at us when we say this is a naked bike, but it does have less plastic than that one.
It does.
So,
yeah.
And we did get that guy off a twisted road. That is our second appearance. It's the first time it's actually going to be in a full video. Fingers crossed.
Yeah, so the last time we had it was for the Fireblade video, and we got to ride it a little bit. We didn't show you guys what it was like to ride, but today we were going to have fun and enjoy this motorcycle. As you can tell, it is a chilly situation here today at Yami Noob out here in Austin, so we are going to wait a little bit and then head out on the road and see the differences between these two bikes. But let's jump into specifications and see if we can determine if there's any differences between these two motorcycles. All right, folks, we've brought out the cool flex shot for you guys here to show the two bikes. This is probably the best way you can look at two motorcycles. And I think the first thing we got to point out is the frame. Look at the frame on these two bad boys. They're exactly the same, right?
Yeah, I mean, the biggest difference between the two of them is actually, in terms of frame and suspension, is the swing arm and then the electronic suspension here.
Yes.
Which we'll talk about a little bit more in a second. But this bike has the new updated swing arm.
Yes.
Which is super fancy and, you know, it's a big welded machine thing. And this is the older one. Is it any worse? I don't think so.
Yeah, so I was actually at the RSV4 press launch back in April of 2021 to do the new RSV4. So this is a 3-piece welded swing arm that they say has more rigidity than the old one. Again, unless you're Max Biaggi, you're probably really gonna feel the difference while you're poodling around from the office and back home. But it does look very cool because it's upside down and, you know, 3-piece welded system. As Spite mentioned, suspension on these two bikes, pretty different. So this is the Tuono V4 factory. So this has the electronically adjustable Öhlins front and rear, which are very, very choice parts and adds to the price of this machine. But this one over here, because it's the double R, does not have the electronically adjustable suspension because it needs to be homologated for racing use. So this has traditional forks up at the front and a traditional shock out back. These are a Sachs unit on this motorcycle. Let's talk engine, shall we?
Oh, this is the fun part, right?
This is the fun part. We're really going to get in the weeds here a little bit.
So, this is 1,000 cc's, 999.
It's 999 cc's.
Oh, 999. I was off by 1. It's making 201 horsepower and 88 foot-pounds of torque. This does have a race ECU, which I could not find specs for, but it does add more power to this motorcycle.
It has
because 201 is just not enough anymore.
Yeah, so the race ECU is going to give you 1-to-1 throttle position. It's going to increase power. It's going to work without the servo here on the exhaust because this motorcycle has a 1077cc motor, which is from the new RSV4, but not the 2021 RSV4 because that has a 1099cc because they don't make a homologated bike anymore. Wow, specifications, can you believe it? So this has a 1077, it makes 175 horsepower and what, 90 foot-pounds of torque?
90 foot-pounds of torque.
Yeah, and this is tuned for street use. So it doesn't rev out as high as something like this RSV4. It's gonna have way more punch in the mid-range, both you and I are shocked at how torquey this motorcycle is.
It is crazy torquey.
It really likes to go from mid-range. But this motorcycle, as you guys can tell, stock exhaust system, non-race ECU. This one we did get slightly modified, so it's not perfectly apples to apples. But this one has a stock can, servo motor still, opens up nice when you get on the gas. I think other things that are different between these two, this has the new suite of electronics from the RSV4. This has the last generation. Again, unless you're Max Biaggi, expert level club racer, it's not gonna matter on your favorite twisty road. Both handle really, really well. They're both on the same tires, right?
Yep.
Diablo Rosso Super Corsa SPs, both same sizes. This one has a bit bigger of a TFT dash over this one, but otherwise they're basically the same.
Yeah, this one weighs in 10 pounds more, 460 pounds to 450. These are a little bit heavy as far as leader bikes go, or cheater bikes, I suppose. But
I mean, this one's a proper leader bike.
Yeah, this one is a leader bike. Got down that 999 cc,
yes.
Not 1,000.
Yep.
But yeah, so this bike is just a smidge heavier. I don't really notice the difference when I get these on the side of the tires. So at the end of the day, it's really just, do you want super go fast super sport or like kind of super sport naked thing? Because I mean, you can sort of see where 10 pounds worth of plastic got taken off and more electronics and stuff got added here to make up that weight.
Definitely, and another thing we want to point out is the ergonomics package on both of these bikes. Obviously, this one has handlebars up here, this one has clip-on, so that's going to change your position a little bit on the bike. But in terms of seat and pegs, these are exactly the same. The subframe is the same, and the peg mounting point on the frame is the same. There's no changes in adjustability over here, and nothing that Aprilia did from this frame to this frame. So that's why whenever you jump on a Tuono, you might notice that the pegs are a little bit higher than you're used to on a naked bike because it comes from an RSV4, not like a ZH2, which is like a steel trellis frame that has the pegs way down low. So the ergonomics are a little bit different.
Yep. But I guess that transitions pretty well to getting these motorcycles out on the road and see how they stack up, huh?
I guess we have to go see. At Yami Noob, we say get Busa now for all your motorcycling needs. Yami Noob? Busa now? It's your Busa. Use it when you need it. Yami Noob is right. It's my Busa and I need it now. It's my Busa and I need it now. It's my Busa and I need it now.
It's my Busa, and I need it now.
It's my Busa and I need it now.
It's my Busa and I need it now.
It's my Busa and I need it now.
If you have a structured settlement but you need a Busa now, get on over to yaminoob.co and sign up today. We'll buy all or part of your structured settlement so you can have a Busa now and get back on track with bills or other things you might have left slip by the wayside.
Alrighty folks, we are here basically making a video just as an excuse to ride two V4s around for the day, which is, I mean, come on, sometimes you gotta do it to them like that. And we're trying to figure out if these two bikes are really any different at all. I think we've said on the channel that the Tuono is literally just an RSV4 with handlebars, and I think the Aprilia engineers and some other folks who have ridden both bikes would agree, but we thought it'd be fun to get them both on the road and see. So I rode in the RSV4, Spite rode in the Tuono, we've already swapped, and I'm already noticing some differences. What about you?
Oh yeah, for sure. I'm noticing mainly how this is more of a typical sport bike power band on this motorcycle. The Tuono has an almost obnoxious amount of torque down low. And this bike, I mean, don't get me wrong, it's still leader bike torque, but it's not like whack you upside the head torque.
Yeah, this thing, I mean, the party stops at about 12,000 RPM, whereas on that it stops at 14,000. And then the gearing here feels a little different to me. I definitely feel like I gotta work my gearbox a little bit more versus that RSV4. But it is ridiculous how much torque this Tuono makes, and where it makes it, how it makes it. My God, it's such a torquey motorcycle.
It's almost like savage is how quick that torque comes on. It's just, it's right there all the time.
Yeah. The other big difference is you guys are probably clocking based on the auditory sensations is, of course, that RSV4 has an exhaust system on it and a race ECU, which makes it just sound absolutely amazing. That's one of the best sounds in motorcycling, and we're definitely going to get a pipe on our Tuono. We're not going to let this bike go without putting a pipe on it. We've already got many emails sent out trying to get a pipe for it. But I gotta say, the throttle feel between this new Euro 5 compliant, or is it 5.2, 5.5 at this point, I don't even know. This is a very compliant motorcycle. So much so that I'm rolling down along the road here, I can't even hear this thing. I'm not even gonna lie. Like, it's so buttery smooth and composed in the low revs until that servo opens up. Whereas that thing sounds like that.
Yeah, you have to have a pipe on these motorcycles. It's criminal to not, just because of how good this engine sounds. You know, it's, like you said, I think it's the greatest sound in motorcycling.
I love being behind another V4 and then hearing my servo motor open, and I just hear two V4s going at the same time. It sounds like GP in real life, man.
You know, it was really funny. We were riding up, and you know, there might have been some playing going on with another really fast, very expensive car.
Yeah.
And I heard you get after it, and just the sound is literally like GP in real life.
I imagine from that guy's passenger side window, he got a fantastic auditory experience as I absolutely super skywalked him on that RSV4.
Gotta do it to him, man.
Yeah, that was a 500 plus horsepower car, and then the RSV4 made it look like it wasn't moving. So that's the other thing we want to talk about. I think in terms of performance of both of these bikes, man, to access the performance requires a brave soul. And they're functionally identical, man. Like, I think within these twisties here, I mean, you're not really going to notice a big difference in the power output. Maybe the way it makes its power, but yeah, I don't know. What do you think?
No, I mean, can anybody actually say they're capable of using 200 horsepower?
On the street? Hell no, man. Hell no. I've got 175 and it feels like I'm riding a caged animal.
Like, the thing is going down these roads here, I don't need anything other than first gear.
Which is so silly.
Yeah, it's, I'm not going fast enough to need a second taller gear, because the gears are so tall already. Yep. But man, on the side of the tire, these bikes feel real good.
Oh yeah, dude. That's the big card up the Tuono's sleeve, man. It's an RSV4 frame. This feels like a super bike on the side of the tire. The pegs are in the same spot. The seating position's exactly the same. The only thing that's changed is my hands are a little further up, and that's about it.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a more comfortable way to experience this V4 superbike lifestyle.
I can't get enough how good these two sound together, man. Jeez.
It's so good. It's literally like a symphony, man.
Poetry in motion. The Aprilia simping never stops.
Hashtag be a simp.
Yeah, we were saying that's their new tagline. Instead of be a racer, it's be a simp. But yeah, I keep coming back to it that this bike really pretty desperately needs that race ECU and the throttle remap fix to not be so Euro 5. It's a little snatchy with that servo motor. It just feels a little weird, whereas that RSV4 is dialed in just beautifully.
Yeah, I mean, the one-to-one throttle is just, every bike needs one, and especially when you start forking over the kind of cash for these bikes. I mean, what's another $1,000 for the race ECU, really, right?
Yeah, then it starts kind of bumping up into the thing we were talking about, the pay-to-play stuff with Zero and their subscription model, where it's like, okay, to get a bike that works really properly, you gotta get the race ECU. But I think it's a little different because you're technically not allowed to use the race ECU on the streets, so it's a little bit different than paying for heated grips like the Zero.
Yeah, I mean, with Zero, that thing's egregious because the heated grips are already on the bike. But this video's not about that. I could talk about that all day.
Yeah. I am curious, though. We are definitely going to do a little highway runs in Mexico with these two and just see what the difference is in straight line performance, if that really is so important to you. Because I really think that they're going to be very, very similar. Very similar.
Yeah. Initially my thoughts are, well, you know, more torque, more jump right out of the gate, and then I catch you in the straights, you know, but I'm not so sure. This thing's still really fast down low, man.
Yeah, it is. so good.
Just chef's kiss good, man.
Yeah. But it's really cool that Aprilia offers literally that bike with handlebars over here and has the same sound and feel. Like, we were talking about how if you got the base version of the Tuono, 14,000 bucks, you can get it with bags, taller windshield. Like, that's a sport touring bike in the best sense of the way, an emphasis on sport, you know?
Oh yeah, heavy emphasis on sport. And you're just sacrificing the like crazy silly electronic suspension, which nobody's capable of really, extracting the use out of in their sport touring dad life anyway.
Yeah.
So,
I will say the factory's electronic suspension is pretty trick if you wanted to, dial it in for the kind of twistier canyon stuff and dial it back for comfort, That's kind of cool, but honestly, I've kept it in sport mode and I've never changed it.
Yeah, it's the Tuono. Do you need anything other than sport mode?
Looks like I beat the RSV4. Just kidding. Just kidding.
Oh man, there's something about kind of tucking in on these Aprilias and then watching the lights go in at the top because they're angled in towards the Aprilia. As you get towards the top of the RPM band, it tickles the monkey brain.
Yeah, they changed that on this new 21. This is the new updated TFT. It doesn't do the little light thing anymore, which I kind of miss.
Oh yeah, you gotta have the lights, man.
I remember when I took the 2019 Tuono that I got from Eurocycle out on track, just banging it off those shifts on the back straight at ECR was so sweet.
Man, going back to the ergonomics on this motorcycle, it is stunning how, I'm not sure if the CBR 1000 RRR just borked my understanding of what an uncomfortable motorcycle is, but this is like a dailyable leader bike. I'm completely content on this motorcycle.
Yeah, I was really shocked by that when I was riding the RSV4, where I was like, man, it's like really properly comfortable for a leader bike, But yeah, I think the Fireblade kind of ruined both of us in a lot of ways.
Uh-oh. Gaslight just came on.
Oh, the gaslight came on?
Yep.
So that's one thing that the Tuono has, especially these new ones, is I actually have a fuel gauge, which is nice.
All right. The hazard lights came on. Wow! These feel good.
Yeah, these are so fast.
Aprilias.
Yeah, this feels like such a traditional super bike. The gears are so long. The power is all at the top. The Tuono feels manic in comparison.
Yeah, actually, now that I'm getting on this, it's a little bit more of a bear.
Yeah, this is buttery smooth everywhere.
That being said, though, I do actually get to use the gearbox. I need, like second and third gear.
Yeah, you got to work it a little bit. Whereas this, I can just be in first and second, basically everywhere.
God, the torque out of this thing, though, is just biblical.
Yeah, I definitely noticed the lack of torque, for sure. And that's crazy, because it's basically the same engine. Obviously that Tuono has 78 more cc's of displacement. It's geared a little differently, and the engine makes its power a little differently, but it's pretty crazy when you consider it's the same architecture engine, yet it feels totally different.
It's also so comfortable. My God, it's comfortable.
Yeah, but again, like we said, I really can't knock this RSV4 too hard, man. It's also pretty comfortable for a super bike.
Oh, hell yeah. I mean, I could see myself riding that thing and not being miserable,
Yeah, I gotta say, though, I mean, it makes sense, but from seat and peg, it's the same experience, basically. It's the exact same.
which means that because the tank is the same shape and everything, it's like you get the exact same purchase on the motorcycle that you do with your knees. It feels, on this motorcycle, it feels just a little bit odd. I mean, it's not bad, it's just different, you know?
All right.
Oh, man. I hit the fuel cut just like you did because I thought I had more to go. Jeez, you really got to fight the wind on this thing, too.
It's kind of hard to do that shit on it. This is so much more obviously appropriate because you just tuck in, first rolls out really nice and smooth, float the front wheel a little bit. It's so easy.
Yeah, this thing, doing that on this is savage.
Yeah, that's why I was like, I don't know about cracking it in first gear on that thing because it's pretty nuts. So let's try to round this video out today. Is the Tuono just an RSV4 with handlebars? I think no. I think it's pretty different of a riding experience, but if you look on paper, it basically looks the same. But the way it manifests into a road-going experience, and the throttle feel, and the torque, and the kind of lower rev ceiling, it's actually really different, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, the attitude of both of these motorcycles is very different.
Yeah.
The Tuono's attitude is that it's here for, you know, it just wants to rip your arms off. It wants to give you this big splashy show, handle really well for your average Saturday ride and, you know, track days and so forth. But it's designed as a motorcycle that you could daily, all the time, no muss, no fuss, you know?
Yeah.
Whereas, and you could say that it is still pretty purpose-built, but they did soften the edges quite a bit for this motorcycle over the RSV4. The RSV4 is just a competition machine.
Yeah, especially in this double R trim that's literally a homologated bike. It's kind of silly. But, yeah, I think, you know, the Tuono, man, it's crazy how comfortable it is given what it is, you know? Like, it's just so freaking usable and easy to ride. Whereas you do gotta want it a little bit more with the RSV4. But, yeah,
To be honest,
if it was...
though, to be honest, I could see myself wanting that RSV4, even as somebody who is, you know, a street, not sport bike rider. I don't know, something about just the experience of sitting in that cockpit.
I know, man. It is a pretty special place to sit. And just hearing these engines, like we said, you buy these bikes for the engine. That's it. All right, folks, and with that, we're gonna wrap today up. You know the Tuono's a giveaway bike. You know we got this one on Twisted Road. I'm about to run this RSV4 through the gears here a little bit, have some fun on this road. We'll catch you in the next one. See you later.